Kentucky moves to 2-0 on the hands of the Duquesne Dukes, but Duquesne look good, Steve. And I know you're rocking that shirt right now. You're a fan of the Dukes. This is a team that doesn't look like a basement team in the Atlantic 10 this year.
Absolutely not. And that's why I was smiling as you were doing the intro. I mean, the main story is Kentucky is 2-0.
Yeah.
And Kentucky, I think, is using games like this game against Duquesne to motivate themselves in practices. And we'll get to that in a little bit here. But let's make it clear that there were no legitimate chances for Duquesne to upset Kentucky, even without their star Oscar Tshiebwe. The Wildcats roster is just too talented and too deep for the Dukes, to try to win. And I know that. Even as a Duquesne fan, I understand that. Okay. But in that first half, you can see why Duquesne coach Keith Dombrot is so high on the 10 newcomers that replaced the 10 players that left via the transfer portal. They used 13 players throughout the game. Mm-hmm. And really, Dombrot, I think he did it to give John Calipari a headache. So Calipari really had to, in these huddles, try to sort out what the matchups were going to be. I mean, Duquesne was within 8 points for most of the first half. But in the end, Kentucky shows why they're ranked as high as they are, why many people think they're a Final Four contender. They won by 23, and that is something that Calipari is going to be able to build upon. He's going to be able to say, okay, look, we need to distribute the basketball more effectively. We can't turn the ball over. We're going to get everybody involved in the scoring because we need to find ways to adapt to injuries because injuries are going to happen during the course of the season. It's just the natural progression of any college basketball season. So if we can't get the job done inside, we have to get the perimeter players like Wheeler or Frederick or Reeves involved. In their opening game, it was the inside game. Here, it was the perimeter players. And Shavir Wheeler could prove to be as valuable as Tshiebwe over the course of the season. He had 11 points, 11 assists, 6 rebounds, 2 steals. Kentucky can adjust to the opponent. And you would have thought coming into this game, it would have been an inside game because the Dukes really don't have a lot of size, not a lot of experience size a little bit. And certainly last year, that's what was their Achilles heel. I mean, they were coming out and their tallest guy on the court was 6'5", due to injuries or whatever it is. But I really think that Kentucky needs to play against pesky teams like Duquesne to keep them interested early. Because they're going to play a tough schedule. I mean, they're going to have some tough opponents early on before they get into conference play. Mm-hmm. And one other thing on Duquesne, before I turn you over for your outlook on this.
Yeah.
The Dukes have the ability to play a 3-guard lineup. And I think that, especially when you get to A10 play, that could play to their advantage. That could keep them in games, let's say, against St. Louis or Dayton. I think it's going to help them give a different look. Even in game, they can shift to that small lineup. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Clark III, Day Grant, what a find he is through the transfer portal. Quincy McGriff, they're playing the most minutes. They're showing flashes of being able to hit consistently from the perimeter. I think there's some work to be done. I mean, Grant had 25, in their opening win, and I think he only had 9 in this game. But there's a lot to take out of this game. A lot of positives for Kentucky. They were supposed to win this game. They did. But also for Duquesne, if you're a fan of the A10 and you're just assuming Duquesne's going to be at the bottom of the conference, I would watch those assumptions. I would say in their first 2 games, they've shown that the players coming in are better suited to what DeBrant wants to do as opposed to what might have been there last year.
We'll see Duquesne take on South Carolina State Monday night. As for Kentucky, we have yet to see Oscar play this year. He's been out with a right leg injury. They said that it was considered day-to-day, if you will. I believe that injury might be worse than they are giving it credit for. And that's
Mhm.
something to keep in mind here. There might be a bigger concern with his injury. And when they start getting into some of these tougher plays, like they play Michigan State on Tuesday night in the Champions Classic next Sunday on the 20th, they take on Gonzaga. And then in December, they got some other big names, against UCLA, against Michigan, Louisville, if you will, too. I take back Louisville. Louisville's been terrible. But regardless, there are some tough matchups on their schedule coming up, and it would be a big deal to have him in your lineup. That's something that you'd really want to see. Regardless, Calipari knows how to take care of these players. He's got them firing all cylinders. We saw Keep the Brobs say some really nice things in the post game about Calipari because
Yes.
and he wasn't wrong whatsoever. There's some really cool quotes. We'll leave them down in the episode description down here because it's a pretty long quote, so we won't. We'll let you read it if you're interested. I'll put it in the episode description in the comments below. But yeah, it's just a fantastic outing by Duquesne here, even though they did lose to Kentucky. But Kentucky is a fantastic team. They are showing that they are, I think, ready to get back to where they need to. Calipari's got this team firing all cylinders, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they look Tuesday night against the Spartans.